I want you to receive this, ladies and gentlemen. This is not just pep talk. This is not something to pick you up and make you feel good on Sunday. This is the reality of your existence. Don't ever doubt it. You carry immense power. Listen to how Madiba Nelson Mandela put it. He said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. My friend, you are powerful beyond measure. Especially because you're a child of God. The God of the universe lives inside you. The spirit that created the whole universe dwells in you. The spirit that brought Jesus Christ, the Son of God, up from the grave dwells in you. As you walk down the street, immense power is walking down the street. Is somebody hearing me today? Consider these two truths. Number one, when your life touches another life, potentially that life is changed. In fact, let me extrapolate. Potentially, both of your lives are changed. Number two, when one life touches another life, potentially the whole world is changed. Can you handle those two truths? I'm going to say them again. Number one, when your life touches another life, potentially that life is changed. Possibly, potentially, your both lives are changed. Number two, when one life touches another life, potentially the whole world is changed. Let me illustrate this point with a story. This is a true story. If I mention the name John Howard this morning, it will mean little or nothing to most people in this room. John Howard, ladies and gentlemen, was a man who lived in the later part of the 19th century. An Englishman. He was working near Pretoria in what we call South Africa today. In those days, it was called Transvaal. The date was the 13th of December, 1899. Just a little bit over 110 years ago. It was right in the middle of the Boer Wars. Boer, B-O-E-R. That's the name that they called the Dutch settlers who had settled in South Africa. And the Dutch were fighting against the English. Those wars, there were two of them, they were called the Boer Wars. Now there was a young man who was a journalist. He was a war correspondent for the Daily Telegraph. And he had just escaped from the prisoner of war camp, the Boer prisoner of war camp, running for his dear life. The Boers in hot pursuit. He got to this door and knocked on the door. As he knocked on the door, John Howard was the man who opened the door. He sought refuge in John Howard's home. John Howard took this young man in, looked after him for a whole week, and then helped him to escape back to Europe. Little did he know that this seemingly insignificant act of kindness will one day affect world history. You see, this young journalist got back to England and he published his story. The story was so gripping, so fascinating, that newspapers around this country carried it, and then newspapers around the world carried it. The story very quickly became an international phenomenon. And that story shot this man into international fame and thrust him into the middle of British politics. Later, this man went on to become one of the most significant prime ministers that Britain has ever had. You and I know him as Winston Churchill. Question: what if John Howard had not been there to rescue Churchill on that day? Well, guess what? There would have been no Churchill to champion the victory of the Allied forces in the Second World War. Hitler would not have been defeated. Maybe today you and I would have been speaking German. Tell somebody, my influence is irresistible. I need you to grasp this truth, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a joke. You have tremendous power at your disposal. And you don't know what act you are going to carry out today or tomorrow that will influence and affect world history. You are indeed a world changer. The shame is that too many of us have been told for too long that we're not important, that we don't matter, that we don't amount to anything, that we are not of no account. And we have believed that lie of the devil. Well, I have come in the name of the Lord today to confront that lie. You are a child of the Most High God. You are a prince of the Most High God. You are a child of the King. You carry the glory of God on your inside. You carry the Spirit of God within you. The power of God is upon you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are a man of influence. You are a woman of influence. Tell somebody, my influence is irresistible. Let me say it again. You were placed on this planet to make a difference. Whether you realize it or not, you're a person of influence. Every day that you live, you are influencing people, whether you are aware of it or not. If your life in any way connects with other people, then you are an influencer. Jesus put it this way. He said, you are the salt of the earth. You are. He didn't say pray hard enough and one day maybe you will become the salt of the earth. He said you are. Tell your neighbor, you are. He also said you are the light of the world. He didn't say if you aspire, you might be. You are the salt of the earth. Tell your neighbor, you are the salt of the earth. Tell them you are the light of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, those two objects are both objects of influence. When you put salt in food, it changes the flavor of the food. That's influence. And let me tell you the power of salt. You don't need a whole lot of salt to change the flavor of food. You don't need the same volume as the food to change its flavor. Just a pinch of salt, just a little bit of salt. So just you one in that office, you one in that department. You are more than enough. You are more than powerful enough to make a difference. Are you hearing me this morning? He said you are the light of the world. When you introduce light into a room, it illuminates the room. That's influence. Again, you don't need a whole lot of light. You don't need a whole lot of light. Just one candle will change the atmosphere of a dark room. Am I talking this morning? You are an influencer, whether you like it or not. The one thing that you cannot do is not influence. Did you get that? The one thing you cannot do is not influence. Your influence cannot be stopped. Your influence cannot be silenced. Your influence cannot be hindered. When God sent you into this world, He was making a statement with your life. He was making a statement. Your life is a divine proclamation, and that proclamation cannot be silenced. Are you hearing me today? It cannot be. Now, listen. If you truly have so much power at your disposal, then you owe it to yourself to understand this power. You owe it to yourself to understand it so you can harness it for good. It's a dangerous thing for you to handle power that you do not understand.